What do a bunch of little Ewoks on chemo do when the Penguin from Batman Returns isn't there to lead them around? We're about to find out. Minions! So Minions is a spin-off of the Despicable Me movies starring all the Minions. So there's a whole herd of Minions, but it concentrates on 3 Minions in particular. And it shows that from the beginning of time, Minions have always existed to serve the biggest, baddest badass around. They kind of hit a rut because there's no one evil to serve, so they go out looking for someone. They come across Scarlet Overkill and her husband, who's voiced by Jon Hamm, who was the funniest part of the movie, I thought. I don't know why he was so over the top, he made me laugh. Scarlet Overkill is voiced by Sandra Bullock. Ultimately, she wants to crown jewels. She wants the Queen of England's crown. She wants to rule everything, and so that's what the Minions are trying to do for her. And then shenanigans ensue throughout, and now we have our Minion spinoff. Now, the thing about this movie that's kind of tough, but kind of worked, was the fact that the Minions don't really talk. Yeah, they make the little Minion sounds, banana, but they don't actually make cohesive sentences, but you still know what they mean. Kind of shows talking's a waste of time. It's all about body language. But at a point, you're like, all right, I could really go over some sentences. Come on, give me words, give me English. And then speaking characters enter, and you're like, oh God, I almost forgot what that sounded like. This is so refreshing. And since the Minions don't actually talk, it relies on what it can, which is slapstick. Most of its comedic spectrum really concentrates on slapstick. But the kind of slapstick in this movie is simple humor, and kids were dying. They were loving it in this auditorium. A Minion would just fall over on his face, and kids would just roar. It does have some conflicting tone where you're like, oh, that's a lot of humor for kids. That's where, oh my gosh. The Minions in the hot tub with the 2 fire hydrants, ultimately insinuating a threesome. Good luck explaining that, Mom and Dad. I'm not saying I didn't laugh in the movie. The movie definitely did have humor where I chuckled, or I was like, oh, that's clever. But ultimately, this isn't a movie that's great for all ages. Not like adults can take their kids to it and they're like, oh, it's great for all of us. Thanks, Inside Out. No, you take your kids to this and you're like, this is your time now. You are welcome. It's a classic tale that spin-offs and sequels do a lot. A side character or side characters like the Minions were great in a franchise, so it's like, hey, let's give them their own movie. But they're best as a garnish. They're best as supporting characters. When you make them the main character, it does lose a bit of that magic. Now they're little side jokes that were refreshing in the old movies are just in your face now. You're like, oh, okay, it's just a lot of that all the time now. And it's not to say Minions is bad. It just doesn't have that magic that we're accustomed to at this point. That magic that links adults with kids so you can watch the movie together and all enjoy it. Ultimately, I feel like this is the simplest review I've ever done, but the movie's pretty cut and dry. It has slapstick humor. Kids will love it. Adults will tolerate it. Adults will enjoy parts in the movie, but ultimately they're not going to like be like, hey, I want to watch that again. It's family night. Come on, let's watch Minions again. I can't wait. Nah, kids are going to love it. I know that because they were roaring in this auditorium. That's what the movie set out to do, and that's what the movie succeeded in doing. So in the end, I'm going to push this one, and I'm going to say Minions is a good time, no alcohol required. Maybe it's because my sense of irony isn't kicking in right now, and I don't think little Timmy should drink today. All right, guys, so Minions, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below. Let me know. I'm going to be in San Diego Comic-Con from now until Sunday, so there are other movies coming out this weekend. I'm going to try to review them on top of the Comic-Con videos I'm undoubtedly going to do when I get back. It's going to be a really packed schedule. I want to see the Gallows, but if I don't, if it passes me by like Hercules did last year, it's just kind of the imperfect world we live in, but I will try. And if you're going to be at Comic-Con, you see me, say hi. It's always great talking with you guys. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.